back to Skype a while back.
You did, okay.
Yeah. Every once in a while, we have a guest who is anti-Skype. Like we did a Linux show, some Linux apps, and they were anti-Skype, and so we did a hangout.
Okay.
One of the reasons we skipped is that it uses yeah, well, Linux guys, it used up too much bandwidth on the upload, and I only have 5 up. So Skype was when you add. It used to be when you add the third caller, Skype went back to SD.
Oh yeah,
and so you'd be using less than a meg up. They've changed that now so that it depends upon the screen resolution of the person you're sending it to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you've got a person who's got you full screen on a big screen, it'll suck up everything you got. And you can test this. I've had that person then go and shrink their screen, the size of the Skype window, in the band. You can just watch the bandwidth go down. Increase the size of the window, goes back up, and it doesn't matter if you add the third person or not anymore. That doesn't affect it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks, July 19th or 20th. I guess yesterday was the 19th. My brother's birthday. Happy birthday, John.
My sister's birthday.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I like the work desk behind Mike back there.
Yeah, he's got a new. We'll talk about it.
That looks good.
Out the gate. Your bandwidth's not great down there.
Really?
Oh.
It's a little. You're fine, Mike Howard, but
let me work on that.
Yeah, it's just a little washed out. You're a little washed out. Anyways, you got this part of the video, you got the pre-show. We're running just a few minutes late, so we're just kind of adjusting stuff. Your color was definitely better upstairs, but you're just you're a little washed out. Lost your audio. I don't think turning down the lights matters. I think
I think the front light is a little bright, maybe,
or a little white.
White. Yeah.
Kind of white.
His resolution looks lower too.
He does. Do you have the Logitech control? Can you bring your white balance down? Not that it matters, but no, that just makes you look dark. You're muted now too. You muted somehow. There you go. Now
That make me look dark or washed out?
No. Yeah, you're just. It's like there's a lot of white light there. That's the. Do you have the Logitech camera?
I do, but the Mac doesn't have the software.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Let me though.
No, we just not a big deal. It's a new place, new setting. Figuring it out. I probably could have said that earlier to you. Sorry. Distracted, Mike. I was trying to load Windows back on my Kangaroo, and I had secure booted it with Linux I was messing with Ubuntu, and just I don't know. Every year or so, I think let me give Ubuntu a try. So you go out there and you work with it, and you're like, oh, this is garbage. This is terrible.
I have it in a VM. Permanently keep it in a VM.
It's awful. It's just like, why would anybody use this software? So, anyways, I probably just offended a whole bunch of people out there. Let's see, it's
and not that many.
Drashton is not out there, so I don't see him yet. So maybe Peter's big on Linux and Ubuntu. So Peter's.
I like Linux, and it has its purposes. As they're rock solid servers. Linux is what Unraid's based on, and it's. Right. In all the years I've been using Unraid, it has never once crashed. Yeah. When it wasn't a hardware failure. I had a power supply go out once. That's the only time in all those years it crashed.
Yeah, no, I know. It's some good stuff.
But as far as the daily user desktop, I would not use it.
Yeah, I can't.
Is that any better?
Yes, that is better. Yes, yeah? Cool. A little more color. Yeah. You're still kind of blocky.
Really?
Yeah.
My bandwidth, maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. You're wired in down there, right? But maybe there's something. It's a new spot.
Storage. I think we gotta stop the storage.
Ooh, the problem. So we've talked a whole bunch about storage. Yeah. It screwed up the OnHub router, and that was my problems last week. As soon as I pulled it down from everything, Rebooted the router. I haven't had a problem. I haven't had a problem since. So I think, like you said, it's filling up the table, the route table or whatever that is. You said something about some table.
Table.
The state table. I think that's
fill that up.
Fill it up, and that router wasn't. So, anyways, we pulled storage 8. No, storage is the name of it.
Right.
Pulled storage down. It's like, well, damn, I can't make any Bitcoin. And then, man, Bitcoin was falling this week.
I thought it just hit new highs.
It's back up.
Is it?
Yeah.
Early in the week, I was watching it, and it was
really a sharp V. It dipped and then just shot right back up.
Okay.
Other Gem says this is the year for desktop Linux.
Every year is the year.
Hey Jim, I got something for you.
Okay.
You like hearing this?
Should we do it in the show? Oh, nice. Let me hear it.
This is not really part of the show, so
let's hear it.
10 frames a second.
Something terribly satisfying. Do it again.
That is awesome.
10 frames a second, and you can go 200 frames before it'll pause. Then you just got to lift up your finger and hit it again, and it'll do another 200 frames.
Nice.
Not that you would ever actually do that.
No. You might.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Mike, I was thinking about you, not Mike Uyghur. I was thinking about you when it was in the dip this week, and I was like, "Oh man!" And that's back. It's $2,700 right now.
Yeah, so we're good.
Man, Ethereum didn't quite take the same dip, but I mean, it did, but it's coming. It didn't quite come back as much, but 221.
Wow, it is spiked today. I mean, today is just
today's the day. It's Thursdays.
Is it all related to the split discussions they're having about Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? I thought it was O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson or Alphabay, whatever that place is.
I thought maybe they're going to let O.J. Simpson out of jail and then Bitcoin. That's causality, right?
Yeah, sure. Two things are happening at the same time, so it must be the same thing.
OJ gets out of jail, Bitcoin goes through the roof. It's gotta be
connected. 100%
correlation always equals causation.
Yep,
that's the rule, right?
It's totally the rule. All right,
I found the setting that I was looking for.
Good. Yeah, your color's a lot better.
This versus this is much better. I think
that's much better. Yeah, right there. That one's better.
If I'm still blocky, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Don't worry about it. Your sound is fine. No, and now that your color is better, it's not quite as bad. It was pasty and blocky. Right. I can only have one. If I'm going to have one or the other, I'd rather not have pasty.
Right.
And your sound was always good, so that's good.
Yeah, good.
You're fine. All right. Let's kick the tires on this bad boy. Get this thing going. Mark, we'll probably go to your stuff first.
Okay.
And then we'll kick Mike's. We're going to talk a little bit, Mike, up front. We'll talk a little bit about your new setup down there. And then apparently today's the 65th anniversary of Weber Grills. So did you guys know that?
I did not until I saw the thing you put in there.
Yeah. So
apparently Mark's a big Broncos fan too.
A big what?
Broncos fan.
Yeah. Apparently. Is he? Is he?
I don't know. All I can see is a little image of him. Orange.
It says Sin City.
Oh, that's motorcycles.
He thought you were a Broncos fan.
No. Motorbike.
In the AFC West. Broncos are still in the AFC West, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in the Raiders division, which is who I like, the Raiders.
Broncos, Raiders. Seahawks?
Seahawks moved out.
Who else is in that?
San Diego.
That's right. That's an easy win.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers. I always love when he loses.
He's the best losing quarterback of all time.
No passion whatsoever.
Might be like Bernie Kosar. Let's see.
John McEnroe.
The best losing quarterback of all time. All right. Let's do this thing. Hold on. Let's make sure we're all good here. All right. Let's do this thing. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found on Gadget Geeks show. Let me try that again. Jeez Louise. I only say it 8,000 times. Jeez.
Yeah, you can do better than that.
Yeah, I can do better, way better than that. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 318, or that's not right either. 319.
We could try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have him open the show sometime. I should have him open the show. He said he can do my opening without thinking about it, but I'll do it. I'll do this one. You're on notice, Mike.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll be practicing.
You're on notice. All right, here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 319, recorded on July 20th, 2017. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home, news, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from, I think we've gone to hell, Mike Uyghur. Oh my God, it's so hot here. I mean, it's no Atlanta, Mike Howard.
97 here.
It's no Atlanta, but it's super high. We may have the same temperature, Mike. I don't know. What are you doing? You just staying inside?
You have to. It's one of those things where your car only says 95, but the feels like is 115 because of all that humidity. It's just awful.
Yeah, we had, I think it was 112 feels like the other day here. It was just ridiculous. And so we're in the throes of summer. I think we've got some cooler weather coming next week, but you just stay inside. It's like living in Atlanta full time. And of course, we post the show notes with world-class show notes out here at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget if you want to have something cool, if you need to get cooler, you can grab the mobile app available from Spreaker. They provided that for us, and we thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that mobile app. You can get available both on Android or iPhone for free, homegadgetgeeks.com. And there's big buttons there you can get. Don't forget, we're commercial free on YouTube and Spreaker. We'd like to thank you for some of you are sponsoring us on Patreon. It's always nice. So we appreciate you doing that. There's Patreon links and there are Amazon affiliate links out at theaverageguy.tv. And many of you are picking back up on the Amazon affiliate links. So thanks for doing that. It takes a while for that whole thing to get going. I think about 3 months before you even get a payout on anything. And so we are back and it's working, but we appreciate your sponsorship of the show. All right. It is the big grilling show this week. But before we start kicking off on that, Mike Uyghur, you have a new studio. What's up with that?
I do. Brand new background built for the show. But I was in the guest bedroom for the longest time. When we first moved in, it was kind of just like, just put the desk in there and we'll deal with it later. And later turned into a year later after we moved in. And so I went down and we have an unfinished basement. So we're trying to put some stuff down here that we can. And I found a corner of the basement that I really like. And this was the deciding factor behind me. So I went out and built this kind of workbench area. And it's kind of a cool company. It's 2x4 Basics. And basically, if you go on Amazon and search 2x4 Basics, what they give you is the legs that are, so all these black legs and posts come from them. So it's this actually not a very big box they ship you. And it makes it so you don't have to cut the angles of the wood, and the places for the screw holes are already there. So all you have to go out and do is buy the 2x4s, buy the sheets you're going to use as the shelves. Makes it a lot easier, a very quick project, especially if you just have one person. It was only me, so it was actually pretty easy to build the shelf. But yeah, built the table. This is now the upshot kind of little place. I got all my drones down here, all my cameras, lenses hanging right there. So at any time, it's grab and go. Grab what lens I want, what camera I want, the drone. The charging stations over there for all of our batteries are always charged up now. I tell you, when organization happens in your life, it just makes things so much smoother. Like this week has been almost relaxing because I just know where everything's at, making new videos and things like that. And plus for you guys, you're no longer looking at the guest bed behind me. You finally get a kind of an interesting, at least, backdrop. And we can, the best part about it is my lights are on, but we can go into party mode if we want to with the lighting, which is always the best part.
Nicely done. Nicely done. A little party. If you're listening on Spreaker, sorry, the second week in a row, I forgot to start you. So you're live on Spreaker now. So if you want to listen, I am so distracted tonight. I don't know what is wrong with me. We've had a conference here in Omaha, and a strengths conference for Gallup where I work. And I got to podcast. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw some pictures. I got to podcast in front of 1,000 people yesterday, which was really, really cool. 1,000 people is a lot of freaking people. I am not going to lie. It was pretty nerve-wracking getting up there. And then once I got going, the old podcasting stuff kicked in, and you're just like, this is no problem. And it was a ton of fun. But there was a lot of adrenaline, and it's kind of thrown me off. You know, today I've been kind of just, it's like I have this big, Mike, I get to meet, think about, like, if I got to meet 500 of the listeners for Home Gadget Geeks in a day. Like, that's what happened at work.
Plus, you have to wear pants. So, like, it really throws you off.
No,
I didn't. Podcasting with pants on.
It's like, what are these pants?
Right?
They call these things pants. And
I'm glad we're all in our remote locations.
Yeah, that's right.
No one knows. It's like the news anchors. No one knows what happens from this part down.
It's party on the. It's business on the top and party on the bottom.
There
So
you go.
I'm still suffering. All right, let's so good work on the new workbench, and we'll work on your bandwidth as well as we get you down there and get that figured out. All right, the grill show. We got Mark and Mike with us. Mark, welcome back. Good to see you. You got a new job. How are things?
Good. It was 8 years at the last place, and hard decision to leave, but it was a lot of fun at the new place and doing a lot of new things. So they're basically throwing whatever they can at me to see what I can do and what I can't do, and stuff I can't do, they want to help me do. So
not stopping you from grilling though, right? You put a grill clause in your new contract. I got a grill on the weekends kind of thing, or during the week or whenever.
Well, it's the 12-person company. They're trying to get a couple of people now, so it'd be maybe 14, but one of the owners has a Traeger.
Nice. Nice. So, I was gonna say, have you taken anything to work yet? Are you grilling for lunch? Come on, it's 12 people.
Next week, we do a monthly barbecue, and I'm talking about bringing in either next week or it's the last Wednesday of the month. So I'm going to bring, I think, about 9 pounds of pulled pork in for them. So I'm going to provide lunch for the crew.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Boom, that happens. And then, so Mark, welcome, and then Mike Howard's back as well. Mike, good to see you. I don't think we've had you on since the last barbecue show.
I think that was the last time. Yep, I don't remember when that was, but it's been a while. Yep,
I think in the spring.
Drone show.
Oh, yeah, that was the drone show. Yep. That's right, and I think that was the spring when we did that. But Mike Howard, how are things?
Everything the same. Both have the drones. We both like to grill.
I know.
Unraid.
We're both Unraid lovers.
Yeah. Yep. How are things, Mike?
Things are good. We're JPEG Raw still plugging along. Our monthly photo contest is growing and growing, and we've about a year and a half ago we spun off a second show, which is our review show that we do once a month. And that's keeping us busy along with the regular show. So, yep. Lots going on with us.
Good. Speaking of spinoffs, Christian and I are back in full swing on Cyber Frontiers. So if you haven't been listening to that, you might can head out and get that restarted. It might have stopped on your podcast player. Get that restarted. All right, let's literally dig in on some food as we kind of think. I'm telling you, if you're just coming to the show and you're listening to this recorded and you haven't eaten, might want to pause it, go eat, because we're going to talk about some delicious stuff. So, Mark, you've got some stuff loaded up in the show notes. What have you been working on, or what kind of new gadgets have you gotten around the grill that you're excited about?
So I think I got 3 show notes. So I got the last thing I just bought was a Weber kettle rotisserie. So you think about your traditional round 22-inch Weber kettle. I have a rotisserie for that now.
And so, is that a new thing, or is that just okay? So it's been around a while.
Yeah, it's new for me, but not new.
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up so folks can see it on the screen. Talk a little bit about why. What's the advantage to? I would think that rotisserie would be easier on gas than it would be on charcoal, but what's the advantage?
Well, what I didn't like, I was looking at getting at some point I'm going to get rid of my Komodo I have now and buy a Komodo Joe. Red Komodo Joe, and I tried somebody doing rotisserie chicken wings on one of those, and the problem with those is that because they're so small as far as the surface, you typically have the charcoal underneath the meat, so you end up having this grease falling off onto the coals, which makes a greasy smoke, which isn't really tasty smoke coming up. When I'm using that thing, I can put all the meat on the spit, and on a 22-inch, I can have a basket of charcoal on each side of the kettle, so there's nothing underneath the spit at all. So you're getting this radiant heat, and you're getting self-basting. So I did.
Mark, you said you did chicken wings with this?
Yeah, I didn't do them yet, but another guy I know did chicken wings with them. He did bacon wrapped chicken wings.
It looks like you can only fit 4 of them on there.
No, he did. He stuck them through stuck the skewer right the way through the wing.
Okay.
So I'm going to get a basket for mine, and so it'll just continually roast and get nice dry heat and a pan underneath to catch the grease. And
so you hang a basket across. I get what you're saying with the basket.
Yeah.
I mean, I
didn't even think about that. Rotate them through. Okay. That's what I'm going to pick up a basket for it. What I've done so far is I've done a sirloin tip roast, which was phenomenal. And I tried doing ribs on it, but the temperature got too hot. So they were tasty, but it's a pain to try and get them. You got to make like a big S shape through the rib and try and stick the whole thing onto it. So I wouldn't do ribs on it again, but I'm going to do chicken on it. I'm going to try chicken wings on it. I'm going to do more roasts on the roasts were fantastic. It's just another toy. I got a knockoff, so I didn't get the actual Weber, but I think I paid $120 Canadian delivered from Amazon, so about $90 US.
And we're seeing it here in the U.S. store, the Weber branded one at $150. That's a little for a rotisserie. Do you think isn't that a little pricey?
That's why I didn't buy the Weber one. Up here, they wanted 202.25.
Yeah,
Canadian.
Yeah, that seems a little pricey to me. Is there any tech in it at all, or is it just put it on and it turns? Basically,
it's a geared motor, and actually, when I pulled off the ribs, I forgot to turn the motor off, and I'm sitting on the deck next day, and I'm hearing this just sort of hum. Oh crap!
Run on battery, or does it plug in?
Plug in.
Plug in. Okay.
It's of course, you were talking about indirect heat, and of course, I think the Webers do those really, really well. I assume you put a pan in the middle, spread the charcoal to the side, get those going. Do you add any smoke to it?
No, actually, sorry. For the ribs, I did. For the roast, I didn't. Okay. For the ribs, I added pear wood. I'm just pulling up the show notes to see the other things I talked about. But if you do a quick Google search for Weber basket on Amazon, you'll see that they have these little baskets that sit on the side. They're shaped sort of with a curve on the outside of them, so they sit in the recesses of the curves, and then you have the rotisserie over the top of the middle of it.
Okay. Last time you were on the show, you talked to us about this little roaster, this Weber it's an infusion roaster that we talked about. We'll leave the link to that in the show notes. Both Mike, Howard, and I think we bought that, Mike, the night of the show.
That night, I bought it. Yes.
Actually, I have a picture one. If I can remember how to put pictures up here.
Just share your screen.
And I had a link. I put a link to it there in the show notes, Jim.
Okay, perfect. $30, which is, when you think from a roaster, Mike, I'm assuming you've used that, and I have as well. But what do you think of this? Has it been everything that Mark promised it would be for that roaster?
Yeah, and I use it to do the beer can chicken thing. I've tried all kind of things where you just have a can holder to other devices that are beer can chicken type things. But the one I've liked the most is the one that Mark mentioned last show, and like you, I bought it that night. And because you put that plug in the top of the chicken when you put it in there, and it seals it, it keeps it so juicy. I tried it. The first time I did one with my old one and one with the one Mark mentioned. And with the old one, I brined it. And with the one I was doing with Mark's device he's showing here, I didn't brine it. I just used the device. And I think the non-brine one came out just as good, if not better.
My neighbor used it. He bought one at the same time I bought mine. And he didn't put the cork in. There's a little metal cork that goes on top. Yeah. He didn't put it in hard enough. And it popped it out.
Yeah, it gets hot in there.
Yeah.
Well, I was surprised because I was showing my wife this, and in the picture you can see on the screen, you can see it's a ceramic. I think that's a ceramic cap. Yeah. And you put that in there, and she was like, "That's really odd, that you would cap it." And you would think, is it really going to stop? It's not a perfect, you'd think of the chicken neck is not a perfect circle. But I was amazed when I pulled that thing off the grill and I pulled that plug, and the steam that just came flying out of the center. I don't think I roasted mine long enough, and I think it was too hot on the grill.
Did you see my picture of it?
Yeah, I showed it on the screen.
Yeah, so that was about 375 degrees.
Yeah, I think my grill was way too hot. I think I was more like in the 450, 500, and it was really getting black on the outside and then not. So I think I got to turn that down. Mike, you do just any kind of beer you throw in the center of that thing?
I don't actually use any beer. I will use apple cider vinegar. I've tried like Dr. Pepper and some other things like that. I have noticed a huge taste difference, but I generally use like an apple juice or apple cider vinegar. Sometimes you also might want to put like some butter down in there. It doesn't taste like butter, but it just creates that juiciness. And like you put the plug in the top. It's not a perfect fit, but in the two times I've used it, it stayed. It didn't pop out.
I shoved mine right inside. I had to dig it out. Because what happens is the juices go on top of it and they end up sealing around it when they start cooking.
But Jim, if you're going too hot, you need to get some kind of temperature probe. So one for the grill and one for the meat itself.
Well, so after the last show, I actually bought a physical, I drilled a hole in my, and I wish maybe I can pull that up. It was cheap. It was like $15. And it gives me the inside temperature of the grill right there on the outside, right? So you can see it. And it's got smoke temperature, from like 100 to maybe 220. I don't know. I have to pull the thing. And then, barbecue temperatures. And then it's after that, it's, I think above 350. It just says nothing. And I am so used to just grilling hot because we do a lot of chicken and we do a lot of, steak or sirloins. And, I kind of cook those a little bit faster and a little bit hotter. I need to make that switch. Now, Mike, I use that tube that we talked about, the smoking tube. Man, that thing is dynamite. Like that is awesome. Stuff that thing full, lit it up. And I didn't even have to. I got a really hot spot on my grill. I didn't even, they recommend you use a torch to get that started. And I just put it on the edge of the grill and it had caught fire and I pulled it aside and let it smolder and it smoked really nicely. So what was that tube called? What do we call that thing?
Amazing smoking tube.
The amazing smoking tube. Yeah. So,
and it's AMAZN.
Yeah. And Jim, if you got one, that's just a probe going through the metal of the grill, that's not going to give you a fully accurate temperature. It's only going to give you an accurate temperature at that spot. That you can get fairly cheaply ones that will, have a receiver and a transmitter, like for $30-40 or less. And you can, mine comes with two sides. I think we talked about this last show. One for the temperature of the device, the grill, and the other one for the temperature of the meat. And then it will transmit it to your other thing. So you kind of got a good accurate temperature of what's going on at the grill and what's going on in the meat.
Because one thing you want to do is the ones that kind of go into the middle of the grill, that's giving you kind of your air temperature in there. And then the ones with because I think Mike Howard, are you talking about it comes with like clips almost? You clip them into your grates and you stick the probe right through there. That's giving you more of a reading of kind of a little bit of air, but a lot of what your grates are at, which is kind of what you want. So it'll give you right in there, right on that grate. Really is to install. Yeah, I agree, Mike Howard. That's what I have, and I need to get a new one because I let mine sit out in the rain too long. So I got to replace.
Mike, you got to go for the smoke, the ThermoWorks smoke.
What's that?
That's the one. That's my latest and greatest one that I bought last winter.
Let's show it. I'll bring that up here so everybody can see it.
Okay, good. Because I'm looking to get a quality one.
Yeah, waterproof.
Really?
And you can actually buy waterproof probes, and it's got magnets in the back of it, so you can just actually leave the thing stuck to the side of your grill or hopper.
Oh, that would be nice.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Stick it right to that hopper. That'd be great. I'm always trying to, I have to set it somewhere.
Hang it somewhere. Yeah. If you look at the back of it, that's magnets, and they're strong freaking magnets. They snap on. You got to watch your fingers.
So it's a ThermoWorks smoke.
Yeah.
What kind of distance do you get with that, Mark?
It's supposed to be about 300 feet, but the other benefit is that if you go to their website, they're actually coming up with a Wi-Fi module for it. So this is the thing that goes on your neck. So that goes around your neck, right, on a lanyard, and you get about 300 feet with that. And they're coming out with a Wi-Fi module that is this with an antenna at the side of it.
Because the one downside of mine is I'm in the basement, and the receiver has a signal right to my door. If I come any further past the door to this room, it loses its signal. So what I'd love to do is be able to set it on the desk right in front of me, especially when you're doing a long smoke, and be able to do that. But if I brought it in here, it wouldn't do that. If I had a Wi-Fi one, then that would solve that problem.
Yeah, I've been waiting for them, and I've asked to be a beta tester for Wi-Fi, for their Wi-Fi module if they need them. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but and the nice thing is I have the version that you have, made by a company called Maverick, and there's a couple of different guys that brand it, but they all look the same. Ready Chef makes it. There's like 5 different people that sell it, and every time you fire the thing up, you have to pair it. And you have to make sure you turn one on and the other one on. And these things are paired automatically. You turn one on, you turn the other one on, they're on. There's no, oh crap, it missed it. I got to sync back up again. Like this, the pen is sticking to it, and there's almost no metal there. Like the thing is.
That's good.
And not terribly expensive at $100.
No, and very good. I had 3 of them. I have 2 of the cheaper ones, and I bought that one at Christmas.
You're gonna make me buy something else tonight. Although I'm gonna wait for the Wi-Fi. I'm gonna wait for the Wi-Fi.
Me too.
Oh no, the Wi-Fi adds on. It's an add-on to it.
Oh darn it! I gotta buy it tonight.
Now you gotta buy it.
So if you look at the bottom picture here, that one picture by itself, that's a Wi-Fi receiver.
This one down here. Here, let's see if I can click on it and get it to. There we go.
Yeah, so
that's the Wi-Fi receiver right there.
That's the gateway.
So for $100, you get these 2 units, right? You get both.
Yep.
You get both. That's the handheld. You see the magnets in the You see the magnets in the back.
And very nice, like, for the guys that have had those Maverick units. It can be a bit of a pain to try and set this temperature alarms.
Yes.
If you go to the front of that one, Jim.
Which one?
If you go to the front of that big unit, if it shows you a picture of the front of it.
Oh, the front. So let me see. No, it doesn't.
Top left.
There we go.
Right
there we go.
Okay, so the 2 buttons on the left are your set points. You hit set, and then you use the up and down arrows to set the temperature.
Oh, good. So you can go down, because on the Mavericks you can't go down. You can only go up.
Right, you only go up. It's a really intuitive system. I'm very happy with it. You can even calibrate it. It's got a calibrate button on the back of it if you want to calibrate it in boiling water.
I'm gonna have to get that. Yeah.
So, so that was 2 of the things. What was the third one I put on there? Or 4? I guess I put 4 things on.
You and also hold on. Let me stop sharing so I can get back to that. All right. You also had what else did you have here? Let's pop this open.
Moink balls.
Yeah.
Food. So I did. We were at a party last weekend, and we had a rig. Next one was I got a new controller for my barbecue. So I got a new barbecue and I got a new controller. Okay. So last November, I'm sitting there looking at Kijiji, which is our version of Craigslist, and somebody was selling a 2-year-old $1,000 grill for $265. So I called them up and I said, "Is it in good condition?" They said, "Yep, it's 2 years old. It's had about 50 pounds of pellets through it. We're just selling everything. It won't fit in an RV." Because they're selling their house and moving into an RV, a retired couple. So I stopped off there next night, picked it up, got it home, and I bought probably close to triple in accessories as to what I paid for the grill.
That's how it always goes.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought a blanket for it so I can cook in the winter. I bought a front shelf for it so you actually have someplace to put your food when you bring it out, either on or off the grill. And I bought that new controller because the stock Traeger controller isn't a PID controller. It's some sort of basic temperature controller. And if the fire goes out in the middle of the night, you don't know about it. It just you wake up in the morning and it says error on the front of it. That PID controller, I also bought an upgraded fan and an upgraded auger for it. So it was as much for that stuff as it was for the grill, but that has an auto relight feature on it. So if the temperature dropped below 165 degrees, it relights itself. It fires up the hot rod again and relights itself. So that's the main reason I bought it. Doing a cook overnight, I don't want the thing to run out of. I don't want the thing to go out if I'm doing a smoke. Mm-hmm. And the Traegers are notorious for going out. And it's so easy. My wife uses it now, where she wouldn't. The stock controller she would use, my propane she would never use. This thing she used a few times and has no issue with it.
Mark, you mentioned you mentioned a blanket, and we talked at the beginning of the show about how hot it is right now. But even in Atlanta, it does get cold during the winter. And if you're going to smoke it all during the winter, especially with a pellet grill, where you're going to struggle to keep temperatures, a blanket is something important to keep those temperatures on a long cook. So I actually bought a blanket since the last show too, for my RecTech pellet grill, and it makes a difference.
Makes a huge difference. The amount of pellets you go through, that's the first thing you'll notice is like, if you cook without it, you are cranking through pellets. And with it, it's almost close to what you'd have in the fall or springtime.
Yep.
Well, that blanket that's on that picture, that day was about minus 25 Celsius. And that's with the old controller. So there's a thing called a P setting, which is the duty cycle of how fast it feeds pellets in. P0 is the most pellets you can feed into it, or the shortest time, and it was still having a hard time on smoke setting with that blanket on it. And that's it's almost like an asbestos material wrapped inside it. So foil line on the inside. The thing weighs about 25 pounds, 25, 30 pounds for that blanket.
Yeah.
That was another expensive accessory, but it allowed me to be able to cook all through the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are a must-have if the place you live in is cold.
And even Atlanta, which is not as cold as where you guys live, but you get down into the 30s or something like that, and you got a decent wind, that'll mess up your cooking quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
A blanket.
Blanket for your smoker.
My grill.
Free lifetime firmware updates, by the way. They advertise on their site there, and says send your PID controller to us when there's an update to the firmware. Send the controller to us. We'll update the controller at no cost and send it back to you.
They are a premier pellet cooker supplier. Like they'll sell you just the hopper and controller, so you can retrofit it. Guys will make smokers out of filing cabinets, out of old fridges, out of whatever you want. So they'll sell you that, the guts on that, but they also sell like full-on commercial smokers for $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for kitchens.
Have Mike or Mark, have you guys ever done a 55-gallon drum?
No,
I have not.
But a buddy of mine has, and that's one of the ones I keep on looking at getting because they call them UDSs, ugly drum smokers.
I saw, who's that guy? There's a guy in PBS all the time that he's kind of the grill expert.
Steve Rakin.
Yeah, Steve Rakin. I saw him cooking one of those, and super low tech. I mean, I think that guy can cook. You never know. He tastes it, and it could just taste like crap, and you'd never know because, he's not going to take a bite and then go, on his own show. But Mike Uyghur, have you ever thought about using one of those, using a 55-gallon drum for grill?
I haven't. If it makes heat or smoke, it'll get the job done. So it doesn't really matter, I guess, what you put it in, right?
That with a lid and a couple stops, so you can put the grates in different spots. That would seem pretty interesting. And you know what? I think though, Mark, it's just as you were talking, you're like, okay, so I got this deal on this grill, for $265 is what you said to him, and then I spent $500, right? Probably in the upgrades to it. Now you got a lot for it.
Triple the price of it, but I would have if I bought that grill brand new, I still would have bought those upgrades. Like Mike Uyghur's grill is one of the ones I'm looking at getting to complement my collection. And if I get that, I'm still going to be getting a blanket for that one. Yeah. So I need a blanket for it no matter what. I sold the grill though. I'm down to 4.
Well, now you need the Green Mountain, right?
Now I need the Green Mountain. I have the room for it now.
Well, wait a minute. I thought 4 was the limit. I thought the wife said only 4.
But then I got away with 5.
Oh, okay.
She told me to buy it.
There you go. Make her think she told you.
I was sitting on the couch beside her, and I'm like, somebody's selling a Traeger in November. And she says, we'll call them up and see if it's for sale. Let's see if it's still for sale. So I called right away, and I told her the price and told her it was new. And she said, go for it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Cool.
I got a pretty good wife, though. She's also the one who told me to go buy the Mavic.
No.
So
yeah,
I get away with a lot.
Jim says, what about a hole in the ground? I was watching a show the other night where a guy just took cinder blocks, made them into like a U, put coals down underneath that, put a grate on top of it or somewhere inside of that, put a whole pig on top of that, and then covered it with cardboard.
Huh.
And cooked and did a long, slow smoke with that. Because I guess the cardboard was up high enough that it was only getting a couple hundred degrees or whatever it was. It didn't catch on fire. And the reason he chose cardboard because it would let a little bit of air escape.
Okay.
Versus that. So anything you can control the temperature in, you can cook.
Well, that's kind of the key, right? Is temperature control. I think I've learned that from you guys as we've been doing these shows.
Oh, totally.
Because I was always kind of just blazing hot, throw it on, kind of grill guy. And between you guys and Ryan Parker and some of the conversations we've had, I really need to learn how to turn those knobs down a little bit and let it cook a little longer. Now, granted, 90% of the time I do burgers. Yeah. Or I'll do chicken breasts, and that that stuff cooks pretty easy. It's screaming hot, and that works pretty well.
And it's hard on a gas grill. You can only go down so far. I mean, a gas grill just gets hot, especially if it's a little bit on the smaller side. I mean, there's no way. Even if I turn my gas grill on those lowest settings, I mean, that thing still gets really hot in there over time.
Yeah. Well, the other problem with gas grills is you have huge holes in the back of it, letting the heat that you do have out. Right, all these smokers are controlling the amount of airflow. Well, the gas grill, if you look behind the lid, there's a gap of 2 or 3 inches by the width of the grill. Jim, you're talking about hot and fast. That picture that I'm showing right there. That was 450 degrees for 40 minutes, and then put on my smoker to slow cook the rest of the way.
450, and it didn't for how long?
40 minutes.
Okay.
So just getting a crust, just basically you're searing it just with heat, like not with contact, not with a frying pan. So that's prime rib. So that was 450 awesome. For 40 minutes.
450 and then on the smoker or on a gas grill?
No, on my charcoal grill.
Okay.
And then so I did three prime ribs between New Year's Eve and Easter, and I did all three of them the same way. Get my charcoal grill nice and hot to sear it, just to get like a lot of really hot air around the meat, and then transfer over to my Traeger. So I'm using 2 grills, and one guy, when I was talking to him one time, said, "Well, yeah, but you're using two grills to do that." I'm like, "But I have 2 grills, so I don't really care if I'm using 2 grills. I have both of them to use. I may as well use them."
Yeah.
And I think 2 grills is a must, especially for, the main times that I'm cooking is when we have a bunch of people over to hang out in our backyard. And I mean, it's just really hard when you got people who want burgers and some want wings and you're trying to slow cook something. I mean, you just need at least 2, probably almost 3. I use my gas grill for like hot dogs and burgers, and then leave the smokers completely full with chicken and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, 2, probably 3 would be ideal. And then 4 or 5 if your wife's a rock star. So
I used 2 grills this weekend because I did ribs. Those ribs I entered into a competition with, they were cooking for 7 hours. They were baby backs to cook for 7 hours, and just sharing it. When those were done, I then made moink balls and put those on one grill, and then I fired up another grill, and I had another set of appetizers on the other grill.
What's a moink ball?
It's a meatball wrapped in bacon, dusted with barbecue sauce, and then you put it on the grill for half an hour, and then you take it off. I made a mixture of barbecue sauce and apple juice, and then put it back on the grill till that gets nice and crispy.
Yeah.
And then you serve it.
Awesome. Now, you said the ribs 7 hours, so I generally go about 7 hours following the basic format of 3-2-1.
Yeah, those are just smoked. Those are I don't wrap ribs. I don't like I like to be able to bite the meat off the bone.
Yep.
So those were smoked for 2 hours, so about 200 degrees for 2 hours with a smoking tube going, and then turned up to 250 for the next 5 hours, and in the last hour they got sauce. And they had but those ribs, that's 2 racks of ribs. It was 3 kilos, so that's almost 7 pounds in 2 racks of ribs. They were some of the thickest baby backs I've ever seen.
Wow. Yeah, I'll do a 3-2-1, but I do wrap mine. I'll wrap it, put some apple juice in there, keep them wet a little bit. And the biggest thing with ribs, I think, that most people forget to do is peel off that membrane.
Yes.
On the backside, you have to do it. And there's been a few times where I've just actually forgot. You just kind of you're rushing through stuff, and as soon as you bite in, you're like, oh, come on.
Now, Mike, when you do the 2, then wrap it. You put apple juice in there. What else are you putting in there?
A little bit of seasoning too. So I'll put a little rub in there actually with the apple juice.
Sugar, honey. Ooh. Brown sugar, honey, and parquet margarine. Yeah.
That's one everyone says.
Brown sugar, parquet margarine.
And you're putting that over the ribs or just in the bottom of the wrap?
I put it on both sides of the thing. You're not like putting the huge amounts, but you put some in there and then wrap it, and it's fantastic.
Okay, I'm gonna try that one out.
That was another set of ribs I made last summer, and that was done the same way, but I finished it off with Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, peach preserves, and ghost pepper sauce, and those were good.
So
those got a lot of compliments. No, you had to really be careful of the ghost sauce, but it gave it a nice little bit of heat without being overly hot. But I only put in like a half a teaspoon in almost a bottle of Baby Ray's.
Okay.
I just trying to see some of the other stuff I've made since then.
You mentioned the moink balls that you did. Yep. It's a meatball wrapped in bacon. I've seen those wrapped in sirloins, where the sirloin has been cut into that meatball size, and then they've wrapped them in bacon. Do you cook the sirloin first, then wrap it in bacon, cook it that way, or can it all cook in the meatball? And how long do those take?
So the moink balls are pre-cooked. I'm buying pre-cooked Italian meatballs, but I did those. They call those. I think they call them filet mignon when you take a steak wrapped in bacon.
Yeah.
And I did some of those 2 weeks ago on our grill, and it took 45 minutes to do medium. Again, I'm using my thermometer, right? So you're doing about 120, and then you pull them off and let them sit. And one thing I did do that I'm very happy with that it worked out, because it can be a real pain to try and do, and I've done it twice, and I was actually successful both times, which shocked me, was brisket. So we finally have a source of inexpensive brisket, and I did it twice, and both of them with a friend of mine I have a friend now who's a competition winning what they call them, grand champion, weekend grand champion, or grand champion contest winner, or something like that. Anyways, it's a winner of barbecue contest. So this guy travels around probably 6 hours from his house and has barbecue contests. He's actually hosting one in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to be learning how to judge at. And he gave me some tips on how to do brisket.
Let's
and
hear
both of
him.
them. What's that?
Let's hear him, because brisket is hard.
No kidding. It's the toughest. I can't get it right.
You see that picture right there?
I love the smoke ring I see too, by the way.
Yeah.
That was tender enough that you can hang it off a knife, and that was 7 pounds. We had 11 people over, and there was only enough brisket left for lunch for my wife and I the next day, and that was it. It disappeared. But it took. I put it on at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we carved it at 6.
So what are you doing for that one then?
Yeah, what temps? And
so that's at. It got smoked for 3 hours. So again, around 200 degrees with the smoking tube going, and then it gets turned up to 250 to 165 degrees. Then it gets put into and this is just a flat. It's not the point.
Okay.
And then you can see the pan behind, or you could have seen the pan behind it. So it gets dumped into a aluminum pan with some beef broth, like a cup or 2 cups of beef broth, covered, and then braised like that until it hits 203. Then you pull it out and you wrap it in towels and put it into a cooler and let it sit for a couple hours. And that was it.
Oh.
So it was not a real, and that's his competition recipe. He says, this is what I do when I'm doing a competition. And then for the rub, I used a 3-layer rub. So I used Dizzy Pig's beef rub on all sides. I used salt, pepper, garlic mix on all sides. And then I put Chicago steak spice on the top.
It looked fantastic.
I like that steak seasoning on top of a brisket. We do that same thing, and it adds that, I don't know, just that good flavor to it at the when you bite into that crust around the outside.
Some people find it a little too peppery, but there's so little outside on a thin slice of brisket that I don't really care about it.
Right.
I've done 4 briskets, and only one of them turned out really good. So I'm going to have to try your method next time. Brisket it's a bad looking piece of meat. It's not that expensive, but if you do it right, it is one of the best meats, in my opinion.
And if you can find the flat only, like if you can find one that's already been butchered for you, that's the easiest one to try with.
I need to do that because I've never done just the flat. I've always done the flat and the point.
And it's like it tasted dry when I wrapped it at 165. It tasted dry. I took a piece off. It tasted good, but it was dry. And I'm like, oh crap, I screwed this one up. 4 hours later, we tried it. I'm like, wow. Yeah, this didn't screw up. This worked.
Mark, what are you using? This is another tool I don't use enough, but do you use an instant read thermometer? And if you do, what do you use?
My go-to that I use daily is another ThermoWorks product. So that same site I got the smoke from, they make a thing called a thermal pen, and it's not cheap. It's about the same price as the thermometer. The thermal pen Mark IV. I think I have a Mark III. It's $100, but it's a quick instant read. Like it's 2 seconds versus, and as you see the size of the point on it, it's like a needle point. Now, the interesting part about that is that the probe that comes with the ThermoWorks smoke also has the same point. So they're saying you can use your smoke thermometer as an instant read.
And Mike, what about you? Mike,
I was trying to look mine up. Mine is, I think, a Javelin. Is that one of them, Mark? I need to look.
They make a pop. They make a ThermoWorks pop.
Something like that. I'll have to look at it. But yeah, I have one too that's stuck to the refrigerator. It's got a magnet, and you take it out there.
That's a good idea. I got to get that. Mike Uyghur, what about you?
I'm trying to look at the brand I have. So The one thing that I like to do when you're, in your local town, there's probably a barbecue shop with some guy in there that owns it who knows everything about barbecue. So it's a lot of fun. So in Omaha, we have the Hub, which is helping you barbecue. And I went in there and he had one, and I grabbed that one out of there. But it's kind of fun. He's one of those same things, champion guy. He's always got fun recipes to try. He remembers who you are. So I kind of like going to those shops and seeing what they suggest. Yeah, you're only gonna have a few selections. And you're probably gonna pay a little bit more, but it's still kind of fun.
It's worth it.
It's totally worth it, because barbecue is one of those things. The people who have been doing it for a really long time, if you just listen to them a little bit, it just makes your cooking that much better.
Yeah,
kind of like you, Mark. From your friend of the weekend, and all of a sudden you have this amazing brisket.
Well, he's actually hosting. He's putting on a barbecue contest. We have a holiday coming up the first Monday in August. And he's hosting a barbecue contest. It's a 3-day contest. And on the Friday, there's a course on how to judge Kansas City barbecue. And I'm taking that course. And at the same time, I'm going to be certified judge for the Kansas City Barbecue Society at the end of it. And I'm learning how to judge it. So I'm joining the membership. I'm joining the society, and I'm learning how to be a judge.
Nice. You got to come down to Kansas City and try it here. It's pretty good stuff.
Mark, you're all in, man. I love it. I love that about you. You are all, there's no halfway. You are going all the way in, my friend. That's I got to get. I think that's my next thing is I got to get a really good instant read. It's just not a discipline I've learned in the cooking. I've kind of trusted my instincts, and it's worked on the meat that I cook. But if I want to do more of these, I really need to get better at just pop out there, check the inside temperature, and make sure it's taken care of. Mike,
it's so hard.
I put mine in chat, and it's $50. The Javelin Pro, something like that. Instant read.
Jim, if you got the smoke, you could do 2 birds with 1 stone.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm doing lately, Jim? Is I've always done my burgers on my gas grill, or if I had a charcoal back then. The last few months, I've done my burgers on the smoker. And what I do is I put it on the smoker. I stick a probe into 2 of the different patties. So I get 2 reads, 1 on each end of the thing. Put the burgers on there, put the probe in, and then you never have to come back until it hits the temperature. There's no flipping. I do them, I think, at 350 is what I got it turned up to. And it takes a little bit longer than if you put them on your gas grill, but you get your temperature exactly where you want. They look and taste great. They have that little hint of smoke to them. You're not going to get a lot of smoke over that amount of time.
Yeah.
And with that kind of temperature, but it's super easy. You just sit back down and watch TV or do whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Mike Weger, you're going to say something.
Well, I was going to say too, with the thermometers and keeping temperature, it's just so hard too. Because if you were to look at it visually, there are times where I will look at it, I'm like, oh, this has got to be done, and it'll still sit on there for another 2 hours before it actually hits that temperature it's supposed to. By the look of it, you're like, oh, this has got to be done, and you've been especially because I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I will do the same exact weight of, let's say, some pulled pork. I'm going to make a pork butt. You do one of those. Sometimes it'll take you 7 hours, sometimes 10. It is all over the board with the same poundage even. So it's just, I thought when I first started out that you could kind of do one and then kind of get your timing down and prepare. But you really just got to start early and then have that cooler ready with some towels to put it in and for when everyone comes over. Because I've sometimes had to rush it at the end because some of them take an extra.
My last one took 16 hours. It was a 9-pound butt.
Yeah.
And you read some websites and they'll say it's a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 hour for each pound. I have never been out, and they say that's a 225. I've never hit that. It's usually an hour and a half to 2 hours for me. So the thing with something like a pork butt is do it earlier, pound on being able to do it earlier, and don't do that 1 hour thing. So you don't have to rush it so much at the end. Count on an hour and a half to 2 hours. Then if you finished early, you can always wrap it and keep it for a good while.
I've had one for 7 hours in minus 30 Celsius.
So you can keep it for a long time.
What do you wrap it in when you're done?
A pre-warm cooler. So if you fill a cooler up with hot water, dump it out, then a couple of layers of foil, then a couple of towels, and dump it in there and leave the lid shut.
Yeah, I wrap it. Your first wrap is aluminum foil, then like beach towels or whatever else, and then you stick it in the cooler.
If it's only cooler you can too. The smaller the cooler, the better.
Oh, okay.
And if it's only going to be like a little bit of time, if you only need to do like an hour or so, you don't have to put it in the cooler. The longer the amount of time you're going to need, then you need to bring in the cooler.
And sometimes in a pinch, you can preheat your oven to the lowest setting, and throw it in there. If it's only going to be half an hour, 45 minutes, I've done that in a pinch. It's not the best because it's still a little too hot in there, but
I've done it where I pulled one off at 5 o'clock in the morning because it was the same time you can have it done late. You can have the thing done early.
Yeah.
So I planned on getting up at 8 o'clock and it was done at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was minus 30 out, middle of winter. It was New Year's Eve. Pulled the thing off, wrapped it and put it in the cooler. We had a 2-hour drive in cold temperatures to go to where we're going. And then we had it for dinner for a mid-afternoon lunch at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was still 165 Fahrenheit when I pulled the port. But I left my thermometer in there.
Yeah.
That just seems so weird to me to think, having meat that warm for that long and it's still okay, and I know it is, but it just, to me, that is odd. But
to some degree, like a pork butt or a brisket and some of the others, you don't want to take them off medium right away anyway. Right. Even if you time it right, you're going to want some time for those juices to resettle back into the meat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you got to let it rest for sure. Hey, let's switch gears a little bit. Mike, you had put in the notes a Blackstone outdoor griddle.
I think Mark's going to have to go for numbers. Is that 6 or 7? What are you going to do?
Yeah, let me show this griddle while we're talking.
I have a griddle for my Weber.
I have had so much fun with this thing, and it's not that expensive. I think that if you look online on Amazon, it's like $299 or something. I bought mine for right over $200. There's sales on this thing all the time. And you're looking at the Blackstone website, which is going to be retail.
Right, $299 there. You can find it cheaper.
Oh, you can definitely find it cheaper, and it's awesome. There's a smaller model too. I think a 28-inch if you want a smaller one, but I got the 36. And it's just a 36-inch plate of heavy steel, cold rolled steel that heats up to whatever temperature it heats up to, and you can do, anything. You can put anything on there. You can put on pancakes. You can put on eggs. You can put on bacon. All at the same time if you want to. I've done all that. Plus, I've done. So you've ever been to like Connie House, one of those places where they do the chicken, the chicken fried rice or whatever that stuff is. Right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can do that. So I've done that where I've cooked the rice the day or two before. Then you put the rice on there. You put the chicken on there. You put whatever carrots and broccoli, whatever you're going to mix in there. Cook it all on there. Just fantastic stuff. I like my burgers and steaks and that kind of stuff better on the smoker or the grill. But if you're one of those that likes what they call smash burgers, where you're smashing it and it gets that char on the outside, it's good for that. I'm not a big char type person. But there's so many other things you can do on there. I mean, you go outside and start cooking bacon in the morning, your neighbors wake up.
You got a line out your backyard.
Yeah. What does it do with the grease? Does it have a kind of a trap, or how does that work?
It's one thing you want to make sure it's fairly level wherever you put it, because it has a slight lean toward the front of it, and there's a little tray, a little V in the front. And then that has a slight lean to go off to the right of the thing. And then it has a little tray down there. Mine actually drips a little bit. So I have a little thing underneath it to catch the dripping. I think in a future version, maybe in the one they're selling now, they've addressed that issue. And then, you get the little spatulas and you're basically a chef out there doing the little spatulas.
Short order cook, right?
Yeah, short order cook. Yeah. It is fun to cook on.
Yeah, it's kind of, you could do the whole Waffle House thing, because that's
basically what they have, just bigger.
Yeah, you could. That's my favorite kind of cooking. The problem is always it's messy. If you're doing bacon and everything's splattering, it can be a little messy. So outdoor, you cover it, or
it came with the cover because it's like a cast iron skillet thing. You don't want it to get wet and all that. You gotta do the little curing stuff, and you need to put some oil on it. What I do when I'm done is I just take some Pam, not like the butter flavor, just the regular Pam, spray that, spread it out, and then that's good to the next time I go to use it. And then you put some oil on it when you go to use it again. But it, because it's that hard steel, you can cut on it. You can, hit your little spatula thing on it. You have it pulled a little bit away from the house, because if you're doing bacon, it does splatter. And, if you have it pulled a little away from the house, it won't splatter onto the house. But it is fantastic.
I want to do this. This is what I want next.
It was big on the barbecue forum for about a year. Like it was, somebody else got a Blackstone. Somebody else got a Blackstone. It was crazy.
Yeah. Mark, you said you got an attachment.
I have an
attachment for something.
For my Weber 22-inch kettle, I have a stainless steel, probably 1/8 inch, 3/16 inch griddle that goes on top of it with a grease trap at the front of it. So for the two of us, I haven't used it. I've had it for a year and I haven't used it, but for the two of us, it'll do exactly what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I've seen somebody take a disc for like for a plow, and they turn that into a wok. And so, you know, that, and then, you know, you do the same thing. You heat that up, you oil it, you season it, you know, thing. And then you can put that on top of a single burner, and that'll, you know, and I've seen them weld handles onto the side so you can at least move that thing around. And I've always wanted to do one of those, but I now, Mike, now that I've seen this griddle, like, it's like, oh man, that would be on a Saturday morning right before I Ask the Podcast Coach, just go out there and make some omelets.
Keep the smell out of the house too. Yeah, there's no getting that smell out of the house for like the next 2 days.
That smells not bad. I'm not telling.
So, and then speaking of smell, the first time I used it, I put it together in the garage, and I cooked our breakfast, the bacon and all that. The garage smelled like bacon for like a week and a half.
Again, not a bad thing.
Yeah. Everything's better with bacon.
Well, yeah, but every time you come home, you get hungry, and
once you get it cured, you know, it's like that the cast iron steel. Once you get it cured, it's fairly easy with the cleanup. You know, you do need to clean it up, you know, shortly after you use it. But the cleanup for me is only a few minutes. It's not a big distraction for me.
Do you just clean it up with a paper towel? I mean, is I
do a couple
cast
things.
Iron?
The meat that's still on there. If you have anything particles left on there, I scrape them off. And then what I typically do is take an old towel, wet it, and then while it's still hot, wet it, and then take one of the spatulas and just wipe that around to get it cleaned off. And then, you know, put that aside. Yeah. And then with four burners, you can have, if you don't want your bacon, or you maybe you want one side where it's just keeping the stuff warm, or you want to cook something different that needs a different temperature, you can have that spread across there too.
Jim, whatever house you get next, you're going to have to make sure you have a nice big covered patio.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. The hard part's just the prep. You know, for me, you know, if you're going to cook this way, you do got to prep more. It just is not, you know, you're not just pulling things out. You're marinating in advance and those things. Mike, what were you going to say?
Well, for the griddle, you don't have to do that much prep unless you're doing something like the chicken, whatever. I'm not saying the name.
Chicken fried rice.
Yeah, chicken fried rice. If you're doing that, then you do have to do the rice beforehand, because you're not putting raw rice on there. You just cooked rice. But speaking of covered, when I did the pork butt, we were mentioning the pork butt that was 16 hours. It's been raining here in Atlanta almost daily, and so I was hoping I can get the whole cook done without the rain. And it didn't. It somewhere around in the 16-hour cook, somewhere around hour 13, about 3 hours before we were done, it started pouring raining. So I took the umbrella off of our patio furniture and stuck it right next to it. That is generally good. I can just put that there, let it go. I'm not sure how the smoker would handle pouring down raining on it while it's cooking, but at the very least, it would hurt the temperature. So I put that over there, but it was windy too. So while it was windy and lightning and thundering, I'm having to hold the pole, thinking, am I going to be here for 3 hours holding this lightning rod? So I'm looking at, you know, for especially long cooks, I don't have a covered deck. My deck's not covered. I'm looking at buying this thing here to put over top of it to give it some protection if it rained.
And this is a Sunjoy. It's a steel rectangular grill gazebo, is what it is. We're showing. And by the way, if you're listening to the audio version, this is a good one to pop over. And we got a lot of pictures here. We have not made this audio friendly, but you want to come over and take a look at it. But a gazebo, yeah, a good 5x8, and looks pretty tough.
I don't want it. Yeah, I don't want it super large because I don't want it taking up all my deck. I don't want a covered deck. I like my open deck.
Yeah.
And this one's even something that I could slide around if I have my smoker on one side of the grill and I have the gas grill on the other side. I could move it over there if I needed to.
Uyghur, you've got a pretty good covered deck, don't you?
Yeah, we do. I have one panorama here of the bottom area I just took. So let's see. So if you guys can see that, so that whole area back there behind the house has a cover, is like an arched area, and there's a fireplace and a TV right there. And I'll find it different, but it's kind of nice because you can see my two grills there over on the side. Yeah. And I have to put a fan though to kick the smoke out one way, because we'll all be hanging out here, watching TV or watching the football game, and all that smoke will just billow in because we have a fan up in the ceiling of this outdoor area too, and it'll just kind of move it all around, and everyone will feel like they're in a concert, like a really hazy concert. And, so you got to put a fan to kick that smoke out the other way. But yeah, it works out actually really, really well.
I like that layout. That's good.
I've been looking at Mike. You mentioned fans, and I've actually, let me show you the one I'm thinking. Something like this going with on deck to. It's just one of these. That I've got. It's a utility. It's it's a 24-inch 2-speed. I would probably go with more like a 5-speed, just so I get some more variability. There we go. In it, but something I can put outdoors. Covered up when we're not using it. But it would be nice to get some movement on my deck on the real hot days. And we're a 3-step deck down now, and it would just be nice to have that sitting up right by the house, kind of blowing air across the front of the deck. And so I think I'm going to spend $100 to $150 if I'm going to do something like that. That seems to be the price that I'm going to have. Mike, Mike Uyghur, you mentioned a fan. What are you using to vent that smoke?
It's actually just a cheap box fan. I set it right up on the hopper of the smoker and kick it out, and it just shoots it out the other way. It's a super cheap, as cheap as I could go. I think like $17.
Do you hang it, or is it on the ground?
It's sitting up on the grills that we have, the smokers have like a hopper where you put the pellets, and it'll sit right on top of there. Actually, it's perfect. And then this is kind of a better angle. If you guys can see, this was actually the picture of the backyard before we moved in. So this is on when we were buying it. So you can kind of see more of how it's laid out with that, upper area, the fan up top. And works out pretty well.
It's a nice area.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It was why we bought the house. It was the only reason we bought it.
Man, Hannah's nice to you, dude.
She's really good to me. She's a good little sugar mama.
Man, you did well, my friend.
Right? Yeah.
You did well to have that space. Mike, you got a pretty good sized deck. Mike Howard, don't you?
Yeah, I actually built my decks. When we moved in, it was a 10 by 10, and then I added a 16 by 12, and then I rebuilt the 10 by 10 to be a 19 by 19. So it's big, but I don't have none of it's covered.
Is that a problem? Do you wish you had some shade on it?
Not really. The area where we go to sit, at the time of day we're going to sit is shaded. And we have a lot of stuff in the backyard for birds, and if I covered it, I wouldn't have it, because I thought about building a third deck that was lower that I could cover for doing something like that. But two things: one, I would have to walk out, step down to that thing, and then the covering would block all of our view from like our kitchen area to the bird activity that's going on out there. My wife loves the bird activity.
Uyghur, you can pretty much just step out, rain, shine, snow. You can is your grill area covered?
Yep.
Then yeah, so you're in pretty good shape.
I'll just show one more picture actually, because it makes it nice for where is the share?
Left side, green button. There we go.
So we have the right side too of that little back area that's not covered. So we can put like a table over there, and I'll bring my smoker in under the covered area if I need to, if it's raining. Otherwise, I like to keep it out, because all that smoke will leave kind of a blackish mark if you let it go too much right up against some paneling. So I'll keep it out on the left side or the right side, or I'll bring it under if it's raining. But yeah, our favorite time to hang out there is actually when it's raining. You go out there during a thunderstorm, and you can sit and just hear it and be around it. It's the best.
That's a great little porch area.
Yeah,
and you got the TV out there.
Yeah, TV and Chromecast, and so and when we got the sofas and chairs you guys saw in that first picture, that made it even better, because we can all sit out there and enjoy it. But it's a very tiny house with an awesome backyard. So all the money we spent on the house was to buy that backyard. So I was like, I don't care. Well, I'll have one bedroom. I'll live in the basement that's unfinished as long as I can have that backyard. So
I got caught in the rain a couple weeks ago cooking. Right in the middle of cooking Scotch eggs, which I couldn't take off, and it started to pour, like it just torrential downpours. So I ended up doing like what Mike Howard did, and put the umbrella on top of the thing and stuck the base of it underneath the edge of the railing of the deck so it was hold upright. But it lasted about 15 minutes. I covered the hopper with a sheet pan, and everything was able to you could hear the rain hitting the barrel, but it didn't stop it that much. Yeah. And everything finished to cook up. So,
and my concern is that it will start to rain while I'm sleeping. Like if you're doing a 16-hour cook, you're sleeping during part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it really that bad? If it rains, does it? I mean, and with my grill, if it rained, it just evaporates off the top
pellets
of it.
Can't get wet.
Yeah, but they're not covered. They're not in a covered container.
No, they're in a hopper, but it's a metal hopper with a metal lid that sits on top of it, and it's got maybe a 1/2-inch lip, but that's it. There's no seal or gasket or anything there.
And then there's a tiny little gap between the hopper and the actual grill that goes down right into that like auger area too. So it's funny when those things get wet, like there will be some that have spilled over onto my patio. Yeah, they turn into like those little growing figures. Like they'll turn like an inchworm.
Oh yeah, because they're
really compressed, so they get wet.
It's like the snake in 4th of July.
Yep. And the other thing about that is that there's electronics there that are running 120 volts, so you don't want to get them soaking wet.
Right. Yeah, because underneath where my thing plugs into the extension cord I have that connection is sitting underneath my smoker. So a light rain would probably be fine, but if it's a pouring, driving rain, that connection could get wet too.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, when I was doing this, while I was holding the umbrella, the other thing that started to happen was the GFC outlet that I was connected to on the outside of the house kept tripping. So then I had to run over, open a door, and run it into the house and plug it into a non-GFC outlet.
Great.
All I was trying to make it those last 3 hours.
Just all I want to do is grill. I just want to grill. Can you let it? Well, the drawbacks. Mike, Uyghur, anything we've covered, gone through the list here. Anything you've added to your grill system since you moved in?
Recipes, but that's it. Like I'm just kind of focusing now on getting better with what I have. That's the problem. There's always stuff you can buy, but then for me, I need to get better at the things. And it's really too, once you get the recipes down, it's getting your timing down for when you have big groups of people over that all like their stuff done at different temperatures, because that's definitely the hardest part is, I can cook a pork butt and I can get that pulled pork done. Can you do a pork butt, wings, burgers, hot dogs already at 350 when people are over for the Husker game? Oh, and people are coming late, so keeping stuff hot. Like it's kind of it's an all day kind of, you don't get to watch the game. So it's kind of, and also if you're cooking, you're not watching much of that Husker game. So it's those sort of skills that I'm working on that take time, I think. And that's the stuff kind of you want to focus on once you got the basics.
Yeah. I'm doing an appetizer party in September as a fundraiser. So I'm going to be doing 5 different appetizers that all have to be ready around 7 o'clock.
See, and that sounds like a headache. It sounds so scary to me because one's going to be cold or one's not going to get done. And it's really hard.
So it sounds like next time I cook that chicken on that roaster that we got, right, the plug, I needed to use apple cider vinegar. Is that right?
I use chicken broth and seasonings.
Chicken broth and seasonings. But
chicken broth. Okay.
I would go with whatever Mark says.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to default to Mark on this one.
Chicken broth. What did you say then? Chicken broth and
see, like a poultry seasoning and chicken broth on the inside.
Did you throw garlic in there?
Yeah, put whatever you want in there, and then on the pan itself, make sure you put some liquid in there too.
Right. And you put veggies on the bottom, right?
Yeah. So I put, and then the gravy that comes off of that is, now if you put potatoes in it, like if you get the small potatoes, just put them in the microwave for a couple minutes first to get them a little softer because they didn't turn out. And carrot, like anything hard, you want to microwave a little bit first before you put in the roaster, because 40 minutes isn't enough to get them soft.
Yeah,
you mentioned that last show, and I did that. I put the carrots and the potatoes in there. I like my carrots slightly uncooked. I like them actually uncooked altogether. But I put carrots and I put little bitty russet bread potatoes in there. Fantastic.
Yeah, and then you put seasoning, and don't forget the seasoning on those too.
Yeah,
and then Mark, how long and at what temperature?
I've only done it once. We have more chickens to do, but we've only done it on it once, and I think it was at I think it's 375, and I cooked it until the thermometer told me it was ready.
Okay, that's just smart. And what do you cook it? What do you cook chicken to?
Chicken, I think, is 160, 165. I think Mike Howard has that.
Yeah, I have I have that. I have a sticker that is on the side of my refrigerator.
I cook
think we all
everything
do.
to
That's why we don't know these off the top of our head because we use the sticker all the time. I'd have the same thing.
I think I showed it in the last show, Jim. I'll try and find it and add it to the show notes. But it's a little chart that shows you even what wood to cook with if you want to do that, but what temperature to get those certain meats at. And Mark mentioned the temperature for the chicken, 325 or whatever. Everybody has their own temperature, so you can use that as a guide. What you're looking for is the meat, the ending meat temperature.
Yeah. And Jim, the other thing about that is grill temperature versus dome temperature is different.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I've got a dome temperature gauge right now,
which is hot. It's gonna be probably cooler. Well, actually, there's different thoughts because the heat rises, so it could be hotter, but it's further away from the heat, so it could be cooler.
Well, and I've got that iDevices probe, that Weber. By the way, we didn't mention this. Today is the 65th anniversary for Weber grills. So congratulations to those. Hard to believe that's only been around 65 years. And I looked on their website, their first iteration of that is just a stainless steel drum, kind of it's an interesting contraption that they have. Everybody loves a Weber. I'd love to get a big 26-inch Weber.
The King Ranch or
the big King that has the grates will fold in on the sides and you can drop your stuff in. Does a 22-inch have a folding grate too? Maybe
if you get the Performer's got a bit of a cart with it. That's when I have the smallest of the Performers, so it's got a place to put your lid. When you pull the thing off, it hangs on the side, and a nice little they have it so it has a little hook on the inside of the lid, which is harder to hang onto. This thing's got a big ring on the outside of it. Hangs onto that. It's got a cart you can hang your stuff on. It's got a shelf on the side so you can put stuff down as you go to lift the lid up. The center comes out so you can put a wok in there if you want, and it holds a wok. You can put a cast iron grill in there, and the sides come up. And that's what if I'm smoking, I use bricks in the bottom of it. I put my charcoal behind the bricks, and then I can keep on putting charcoal on top of those, or I can put wood on top of it.
Yeah, and you just use the bricks to retain some of the heat, or to hold
that as a wall, so I can have a two zone. So if I'm doing chicken wings, you don't want to have chicken wings on top of hot coals because it just causes flare ups.
Right.
So I do chicken wings indirect on the Weber before I had my rotisserie. Now I'm going to go buy a basket and do my
drip pan in the middle, briquettes on the sides.
One side.
Oh, you do it that way. Okay.
And then have all the heat go off, and I have my vent at the opposite side from where the brick is.
Right.
And then the last step I do is put it on top of the coals.
Ken says in chat he needs some recipes. I think we could say, hey, Echo, I need a recipe for roasted chicken.
Welcome to All Recipes. Searching for roasted chicken. I've found hundreds of results. My recommendation is Juicy Roasted Chicken Recipe. It has 4.5 out of 5 stars with thousands of reviews and takes 1 hour 40 minutes. Would you like to hear the recipe details?
Yes, please.
The description reads, my grandmother's recipe for roasted chicken. We are German and she used to do it this way all the time. I never have had a chicken this juicy before. This little trick works and makes the people eating it go silent. It's funny. We nibble on the celery after. You can hear the reviews or go to the next search result. You can ask for ingredients or start a new search.
Let's do the ingredients. Ingredients.
The main ingredients you need are chicken giblets, onion powder, margarine, celery leaves. You can check it on your Alexa app. Do you want to hear the ingredient details?
Echo stop.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
That's a pretty cool little, if so Ken, if you need, we were monkeying around with this, I think the other day when we were talking about the Dash Wand, and I think you can get recipes. I think that works. Let's just try. I need a recipe for barbecued chicken.
I don't know that one.
So maybe I didn't say it right. I need a recipe for barbecued chicken. Now, sure. So I think it works on this. I just need to get the words right. But Mike, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I think the one thing we could do though is I was thinking on the Facebook group, one person just post a thread saying, "Hey, all recipes go here." Save that, and then everyone in the comments can put recipes. The best part for smokers too, I think the hardest part when I was learning how to smoke is the detail of, okay, start at this temperature for this until you get up to this temperature. Because smoking instructions are way different than any other cooking instructions you'll get. So so when people are putting those in there, if you are putting on a smoker, maybe including those, and I think we can all go in there and put some of our recipes. Because Ken, I agree, one of the hardest parts is getting started. My wife actually got me a smoker's cookbook for Christmas, and it's been a lifesaver. We use it every single time. I'll look up something new and try it there. So maybe we'll start one post on Facebook with all the comments in it, and people can post the recipes there.
Where I learned most of my recipes when I first started was a site called Komodo Guru, and I just put it in the chat. That they're brand agnostic, so they don't care what brand you have. They have forums for different brands, but it's everything's good, right? And then they have one recipe section, and that's where I probably got at least half my recipes when I started.
Yeah, I think I use that same exact website actually.
Mike Howard.
Yeah, well, in addition to that, there's also a lot of good YouTube channels where people will show you if you like to learn through video. Yep. I think we did them last time. I can put them in the show notes again, but there's a number of channels I like to watch and get tips there.
Me too, especially for all because everyone has their own tips and tricks for, mustard all over the pork butt or whatever they're going to use and stuff like that.
Didn't think it was in mustard.
Yeah,
it's a binder.
Good.
It's a binder. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a binder to hold the stuff on.
You don't taste it. Yeah. But one thing you'll learn as you watch those videos is while there's some general rules, like there's when you go to do smoke, you're not going to get smoke flavor that much at certain temperatures. But there's other things you'll learn that there's no one way to do it.
Right.
There's so many different
you can
ways
improvise. You can even improvise for yourself. Yeah. I figured out the one. So hold on one sec. What's the recipe for barbecue chicken?
Welcome to all recipes.
So that works off the one too. So in theory, you can take this out in the backyard with you and listen to the recipe.
Was that a skill you enabled, Jim?
Yeah, you enable all recipes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was hilarious when she was reading that review. It started that with review. Everyone will love it. It's that's pretty funny.
Everyone's quiet when they're eating it.
I know. Well, I'm struggling to find uses for the wand, so I'm just kind of thinking, take it out on the deck, and you can, unless you've got the device with you. Do you have an Amazon device out there, Mike? Can you get Wi-Fi, Mike? So Mike Uyghur, can you get Wi-Fi on your patio?
Oh yeah, that's actually where my best Wi-Fi is, because right on that wall that you guys saw with the 3 windows is the living room, and that's where our Wi-Fi hotspot is. So we have great coverage out there.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Yes. Have you guys thought about taking one of those Amazon devices outside so you can talk to it while you're grilling, Mike Howard?
I don't. My cooking place is right off the kitchen, and we have the Alexa show or Amazon show, whatever that is, in the kitchen. And so you walk in. Of course, when you walk in with your hands full of meat, you can't touch anything. But as you walk in, you go, Amazon set a timer for whatever, and it sets it. So you're able to do that right away. I love that. Last night I was cooking popcorn. I was talking about the show, and my wife wants to go see a movie. So as I'm cooking a popcorn, I said, Alexa, I think that's what we call ours. Alexa, show me movie trailer for blank. Boom, there's a movie trailer playing.
We need to get Alexa controlled doors. So you're walking in with your hands full of meat. Alexa, open the door.
That's the number one problem. Easily number one problem. Yeah. And a good pair, I guess one thing to mention is a good pair of whatever you call them, grilling gloves, where you can grab the whole pork butt with your gloves. Makes a huge difference. I grabbed one of those, and mine actually, because there's a few different styles you can get. Mine are the ones you can just run underwater and wash off. They're a rubbery, like a silicone type material, and they're great because otherwise there's no way you're going to be able to flip those or move them or transfer them easily. So a good pair of gloves is always nice.
Yeah, those meats we're talking about, 200 degrees, that's hot. You've got to have something to hold on to it.
Oh yeah.
I have 2 jumbo forks, like almost like turkey lifters, that I have just for pulling pulled pork and pulled beef off the grill.
Well, it's hard because you're always going to leave that layer of fat that ends up, staying on the bottom, which isn't good.
It's going in the garbage anyways.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think with that we'll call it. We'll call it a grow. There's a lot of new stuff in here, some old stuff too. A little bit of review on some stuff that roaster we talked about before. Mike, I too have just used it once, and I need to use it more. I was talking to Sarah the other day, and I said, we need to roast some chicken. And it's hard to get into that pattern of like buying a whole chicken. You know, we're pretty good at getting the processed chicken, you know, chicken breasts or whatever, but to get a whole chicken, and then it's just, so it's just different. So you have to kind of get in different patterns to have the right ingredients there. And then you know, we've talked a lot. Mark, I've watched you. You know, you prep for hours ahead of these cooks with the right stuff, and then you cook it. Now, you get what you pay for. So you put all that time into it, all that effort into it. You get some really good stuff, and I think it's better for you. It tastes better. Well, bacon wrap stuff's maybe not better for you, but it is good. It is better for you. So let's just say that. But yeah, you get better quality stuff, and I need to get better about planning and having that stuff on hand, so you can just do it. Right? I think that's the trick.
But not everything is a long term. Like we did steaks on Sunday, and that was pulled out at 3 o'clock, and they defrost for a couple hours, and then you rub them, and you're done.
Yeah, and those are easy.
The chicken, if you're not going to brine it, if you're going to use that thing that we mentioned, there's not a whole lot of prep you need to do there, and the chicken will cook fairly fast too.
It's just getting a whole chicken. I mean, that's just so different. People don't buy whole chickens. I used to, you know, you do that and they cut it up themselves, and we just don't. It's hard. It's harder to find them. And when I went to go get one here, they weren't as cheap as I thought they'd be. And so, you know, anyways,
you buy them on sale.
Yeah, it's just a different. When you start cooking this way, it's a little bit different. You got to find. We're so used to even meats, good cuts of meats. You got to really find some good places to get it, because it's not like they have it just everywhere. You got to kind of find a shop, and sometimes local grocery stores can have a really good meat department. You just got to find it. Sometimes they don't. You know, Walmart's probably not the best place to buy your meat, although it could be for some. You know, it just kind of depends on what your local grocery store is getting. So very cool. Mark, Mike, Howard, thank you guys for coming back on. I think another successful grilling show. We probably sold some stuff. It seems like I'm not going to buy anything after this. I need to actually just do some grilling.
Well, I am looking at that thing Mark talked about right now.
The smoke.
Nicely done. Well, I'm going to get my next is an instant read thermometer. I need to have one of those. I've got that iDevices, you know, but for turkeys and some of those things, it's really nice, but I really need an instant read for some of the other stuff. All right. Well, we'll remind everyone, don't forget, we got a Patreon link available for you if you want to financially support the show. We always appreciate it when you do. Available out at theaverageguy.tv. You can also get to the Amazon link. So if you're going to purchase any of this stuff, you know, if you're going to buy one thing, that little roaster is that little chicken roaster. If you're thinking of doing something like that, $30. That's 20. It's actually less than that, but a fun little gadget to get and to work on it wasn't that hard to pull out, put together, put stuff in. You can kind of get the whole meal cooked on that. Gives you something to kind of try, and then, you know, for 2 or 3 people, maybe even 4, a whole chicken, pretty good size. And the longer you cook it, the easier it is to pull that thing apart. So you can get out there and get that done. Don't forget, you can contact us, send us an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Find me on Twitter, and Twitter has been super active lately, and kind of shocking. It seems like we did nothing for the longest time, and then all of a sudden Twitter has just picked up. Mike Uyghur, any idea why all of a sudden it's gotten active on Twitter?
I have no idea, but I love it. You kind of forget, like, if you kind of fall out of the interaction game on Twitter and not as much conversation, you forget how amazing it is and how fun it is to interact. Except for I got to make sure I be really careful about which account I'm tweeting from. I was having a conversation with Anthony, with Tony, and from the Upshot account, not from my personal account. So makes it real. Twitter is great. The Twitter app is fantastic and updated now, where you can switch back and forth between those accounts easily, but sometimes too easily. But it's been a lot of fun.
It is easy. Tony, I think, gets the award in my mind as the best tweeter in our community. He
hands down, yeah.
He finds the most interesting stuff. So make sure you're following Tony out there. Rich Hay does a lot of Microsoft and a lot of great tweeting. That has been something I've kind of watched him do. He's doing a lot of great stuff, and so fun to be back on Twitter. And it seems like, at least if you're following the guys in our community, there's a lot of fun. That dang weather tweet gets a response almost every day now. I get some kind of response from the listeners. Yeah, it's just hilarious. I've gotten 3 this week, and we talk about the weather here, and I love it. So it's just one of those. It's just one of those things. So Tony, thanks for the tweeting that you do. We appreciate it. Just a reminder that the AverageGuy.tv platform, powered and hosted and all that other good stuff by Maple Grove Partners, gets secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. Of course, that's Christian. He's a good guy. Back on Cyber Frontiers. Head out. Plans start as little as $10. MapleGrovePartners.com. And don't forget to listen on the live app as well. If I remember to start it, it's 2 in a row, man. I'll be better on Spreaker. Sorry about that, guys. You can head out there, HomeGadgetGeeks.com. Thank LastPass for their sponsorship. We're going to reschedule them. We were supposed to have them last week, and Amber didn't feel well, so we'll get them back on here. We're also, I mentioned the 27th, we were going to have the guys from Morrow on, Morrow Data, the founder, Paul, the founder of Ready Now. They're actually a little delayed on their launch, and so they've asked me to move that into August. So we'll move that down into August, I think the 10th. Or something like that, and we'll have them moving around. Then I need to get some stuff booked. So if you got some ideas on something you'd like to hear, and you can maybe even help me contact somebody who will come on the show, we'd love to have them on. Just track it, get me on Twitter or send me an email or whatever, and let me know. What doesn't help is when you say, "Hey, get this guy." That doesn't help. What helps me is when you contact that guy and say, "Hey, would you be on a podcast? I listened to this thing." That really helps. So if you've got that kind of thing where you can get that done, that is great. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at the AverageGuy.tv live. Mark and Mike, thanks again. Hey, let me say this to you two. Thanks for being in the chat room, by the way. You guys, almost every week, out there providing great content. I look at the guys, other Jim, Emily, Rennie, Ken, Tony, Peter, Drashna. Thanks, guys, for coming on a weekly basis. I mentioned early in the show I got to podcast in front of 1,000 people this week, which is just amazing. It's an amazing feeling to be in front of 1,000 people. But I'll be honest, I love what we've got going on here on Thursday nights, and it's just a ton of fun to come out. I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't like it, and I appreciate you guys coming out and joining us live each week. It makes it a ton of fun. So we appreciate that. If you're listening to the recorded version and you've never joined us live, come out Thursday night. Just try it one time. You might find it fun, and we'll have you come out Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. With that, we'll say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Great job, guys. Good work.
Speaking about getting what? Go ahead, Jim.
You guys have gotten a lot of rain.
Yeah, like every day at some point, and Anthony was just talking about this. Every day at some point during the day, it has rained here for like the last 2 weeks. Today it hasn't, but it has been raining here all the time. So anytime on a weekend when there's a spot it's not raining, I got to run out there and cut the grass.
We've had rain. We had a record of rainfall in the first 11 days. We had more rain than we've had in multiple years put together in July.
Weird. Yeah. Jim, you mentioned about getting people on your show. Remember the guy from Ring?
Yeah, Jamie.
And back when we had him on the show, I only had the doorbell. Mm-hmm. And then he talked about the stick-up cam. So I've now bought the stick-up cam. Then I bought a second stick-up cam. And now I bought 2 of the floodlight cams. Mm. And those will plug into electrical outlets. All the others can be battery operated, but this has to plug into electrical. And it has the LEDs attached to it. The video quality is excellent.
A Ring floodlight cam?
Yeah. So they're not cheap. They're not cheap.
So the cam in the middle of the light, or how does that?
It sits below a little bit below the light.
Okay, a little bit below.
The lights are kind of up top.
I reviewed that Home 8, I don't know, a year ago. Probably wasn't that long, 9 months ago. And it's just, I kind of turned it off. I just haven't been using it. And then I had this idea the other day, front doors are getting to be a hot commodity with, packages being stolen and some of those kinds of things. We haven't heard anything in our neighborhood, but I thought, I had to pull that thing out of the garage and put it in a window because it's not really meant to be outdoors, the gear I have. Put it in a window facing, we have a bay window, and I can put it right in the bay window and have it face. So a little 2-sided tape, stuck it on there, pointed it down. Man, that's been a ton of fun to have. I've watched the kids come and go during the day, and now it has the infrared lights. It has 4 of the red infrareds that come on at night, and of course you're on the other side of the glass, so that that basically makes it at night unusable. Right. So that's not great. But I'm not really worried about that. It's during the day if a package arrives or some of those things, and it has integration with Dropbox. So as soon as it detects motion, it automatically sends it to Dropbox. I get a notification. I could go out easily on Dropbox, watch it on the app, some of those. So a Home 8 would not be my choice for it, but I'm starting to get hooked on having a camera.
It's nice at the front door. Yeah, it's nice. I'm trying to. We haven't had a real problem here either, but I'm trying to get every angle of the house covered with something like that. And one of the things that they did at Ring, if you do the online storage, where they will maintain it, it was $30 a year per device. So if you only have 1 or 2 devices, that's fine. But when you start getting multiple devices like that, that can become expensive. They added a plan where you pay, I think it's $99 for unlimited devices. So if you're going to have a bunch of them, then it's okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what's the advantage of doing that besides like running your own, whatever it is, like Sighthound or Blue Iris or something? For us tech guys who have the extra power at home, would you ever consider running one of those?
I probably would. I like these, so that would work. Those would work good too, because you could then use your own storage, right?
You use your own storage. You don't pay anything, and you can use any IP camera you want. You're not once you buy one of those, you're kind of stuck in that ecosystem if you don't want to switch apps and all that stuff and things like that. So
I'm kind of stuck in that ecosystem.
you are stuck.
I'm kind of stuck. I like
now,
right? And that's what I mean. So that's what I like about this system. Is like I can grab any IP camera I want. I think I can actually use a lot of those branded items and pull from them.
What are you using, Mike, for that?
So I run Sighthound.
Sighthound, that's right.
Sighthound's just super easy to use, and it's platform agnostic. You can run it on. Actually, you can't run it on Linux. You can only run it on Windows or Mac. And the thing I like about that was Blue Iris. I know Drashton is a huge fan of that, and there's some other ones out there. But as far as ease and the app and the people detection, Sighthound I think is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We got a problem. We had a problem with kids going around trying doors, see if they're unlocked. And in 7 years, I think I've lost 2 GPSs. And then last week I lost a coffee card. I get notified when it auto tops up. And I only found it was stolen when it was auto topped up.
Oh. So because with the auto top off, you pretty much topped off the card without
It automatically tops up and then send me an email saying we topped up your card.
Right.
So they stealing it out of your vehicle that's parked outside?
Yeah. And it's happened often enough that they're doing it just about every night during the summer. They just go to every single car, try the doors, take whatever's inside, next car.
So
we leave it unlocked. What's that?
Seems like the cops can just hang out and find them.
Well, it happened one time that one of the GPSs we had there was an update. You can convert it from one model to the next model up legitimately. And the guy was selling a 720, but it was now a 730. And I actually called the guy on Craigslist, found it. And then I said to the cops, if you guys are too busy, he said, I'll go and see it and see if my serial number. And they said, no, don't worry about it. We'll go see them. They called me back and they said, good news and bad news. Good news, it was stolen. Bad news, it wasn't yours.
Oh. It seems like the cops shouldn't have too much trouble finding the GPS.
Yeah, well, actually, the last one I got stolen, they actually found it a week later, and the guy called me up and he said, "Did you lose the GPS?" I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't bother putting a police report in because I didn't think I'd ever see it again." And he said, "No," he said, "We picked up a kid and he had a bag of them, and he pulled up mine. I said, hit home, and it had my address in it, and he called me up."
Yeah. There you go.
I like this look, Mike.
Yeah, so this is that Sighthound. So this is the remote web you just log into when you're from anywhere. And so this is the grid view. But the best part is you go to clips and you can really filter into, let's go to garage and only people. And then along the left side, these are going to be all of your clips where there is a person. So this is probably my mom bringing my son back. And you can play it through here. And so it boxes out. So that yellow box around circles the person. And it's pretty nice. You can download it from here. You don't have to actually go back to the server because this just runs on one of the servers in the racks. Doesn't need anything. So yeah, it works actually pretty well.
Very nice.
Live view.
What are your cameras, Mike?
So they are actually old. They are So iCamera 2s, which you would never want to buy. They come with the Cox or any cable provider's security system nowadays. They're using these iCamera 2s. And I mean, they're HD, they're 720p, and you can grab the RTSP stream from them, and you can kind of hack around on them a little bit. But I had already had 2 of them, or almost 3 of them, from when I had Cox. And so I said, oh, I mean, you keep the cameras, and then you can actually flash new firmware on them and go from there. So I use old cameras that I had, but you can use any IP camera you want. Works pretty well.
I'm gonna have
you
to
just run the software on any Windows PC.
Any Windows PC. Yep. Or Mac. And so the 2 camera license is $60 lifetime. The unlimited camera option, and this has integration with IFT, Dropbox, all of those cloud storage devices. And that I think is $250 lifetime. So pay once, you have it. There is the yearly if you want the big milestone updates. I think you can pay $50 that year whenever you want it, and you would get the big milestone ones for continual support after that. But yeah, it's I love it. Works pretty well. And setup is an absolute breeze. Could not be simpler. Walks you through setting up a new camera. You give it a location, a name. You tell it where you want it to store all the footage, how much you want it to use up, and go from there.
It does have to find the camera, and so, which can be, for some cameras, can be a little weird. These Home 8 cameras, they're IP, but they've been hard to find.
So and you have to know usually the URL of the stream.
Yeah,
is usually what you got to find. But some Googling, or with Sighthound, if you have any sort of remotely somewhat popular brand, usually they'll have it in their system. But if you've got kind of some weird ones, like these SoCam ones that are iCamera 2s, are not bought by consumers. They're installed by the cable companies, and usually the firmware's controlled, so they didn't have these listed. But for any other, FOSS cams or any of those, they're going to be listed. Well, so one thing would be interesting, Mike Howard, is I wonder if you could get the stream from the cameras you have now into something like Sighthound.
Yeah, I don't know.
You get a 30-day free trial, so it's something you could always play with and see if it works, and then you could drop the license. But
yeah, that's interesting, because all those cameras have an IP address that are connected to the house.
Right, exactly. And they probably have a URL that is kicking out that stream.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, looking at the software here, pretty nice.
Yeah, it works pretty well. And the thing I like about it too is I was shocked. So they did a huge update back in December. People were complaining about the CPU it takes to run 6, 8, 10 high def streams. Their CPUs were getting, an i5 or an i7 was running at 60, 70%.
Wow.
So I have 6 now, and it's about 17% CPU. 6 high def streams running all the time, doing the detection of the people, saving the clips. And the way it works too is it saves. You can say, okay, save everything for 24 hours. So for 24 hours, you can go back and scrub through where nothing's happening. And then after that, delete anything where I didn't tell it. So I have it whenever there's a person, save that forever until it runs out of space. And I have it set to like a terabyte of space on my NAS. So you kind of can say, okay, I don't need to save, because it knows the difference between a person and a car. Okay, I can delete all the cars if I don't want to, or I actually save those. I save any event, which is a person or an object moving in the frame, and then everything else it gets rid of. So the search feature is really nice.
I like the custom zones too, where you can draw boxes, because that's something that you can do to Nest, not to Nest, on the Ring cameras too. Because my back one is looking out underneath the deck for the back door of the basement. Its view goes all the way into the neighbor's deck, so it's a pretty wide view. Well, I don't care if the neighbor's right on the deck. I don't want to capture that. So my box that I draw just goes up to our fence line. It doesn't capture that.
Yep, I love that feature, because I get for some reason, ours faces, I get a window of the neighbor that when people drive by and the light reflects off it, it thinks it's a person every time, like the glare of that light. And so I just drew a box to get rid of that, and it solves the issue of all the notifications. And the app on the phone's pretty nice, works out pretty well. It's a little bit, you'll notice once you get in, you can tell it's a smaller company. Their website makes them seem very professional, but they are a little bit smaller. The app is nothing pretty, but it's functional. And you're seeing it right there. Nothing too dramatic there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you still have to set like the IP address. It'll try and auto switch for you. So once you've typed in your IP address externally and then internally, it should, whenever you're off your Wi-Fi, switch you over to your public IP address to get you tapped into your system. But sometimes it's a little bit wonky.
Mm.
Besides that, there's a few little blips.
Yeah.
It does audio too. So if your cameras support audio, it'll do audio. Yeah, some good stuff. They have a bunch of add-ins you can do too. You could get, I think like license plate readings. So it'll track license plates as they drive by. There's a bunch of in the cloud things that they will do on their servers if you send the footage up to them. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff. Something
the
nice
IFT
around
is cool. If you had a camera, see, the problem is all my cameras are facing areas where other things trigger them accidentally. But if you had a pretty good like indoor camera that nothing is supposed to be there, and you could IFT and trigger your lights to blink, or you could do a lot of different triggers like that.
Our front door catches all kind of false positives, like you
Right,
mentioned.
ours does too.
But the one on our deck, the stick-up cam on the deck, and the one looking under the deck for the people coming, if somebody came to the back door, anybody who is picking up, there's a problem.
Right.
Or
so
it's the
those
family.
would be kind of nice. You could do some if triggers and do some weird things with that.
Right. So those two I have will alert me on my phone if it picks up any emotion.
Right.
What's the minimum resolution you want for an outdoor camera like that?
Oh, I'd say easy 720. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something like where the Ring is, but not Ring, and there's not a lot of them.
No, and sometimes they get a little pricey. But yeah, minimum 720, or else it really becomes unusable. Because the thing is, like, if I'm gonna catch someone, like, okay, it's great to know that someone broke into my house. Like, I could have figured that out by my stuff missing. What I need to do is be able to see their face and send that to the cops. So yeah, and especially the outdoor, I think you want at least 720. I would love 1080. I really wish mine were 1080.
I think
high frame rate's really important too.
I think you definitely need at least 720, because I think they're also probably a low bit rate. So even at 720, you're not getting great quality.
Rate, not frame rate.
Yeah.
I need you need a high bit rate.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm gonna have to try that. I was having a hard time getting that camera from Home 8 to connect to anything non-Home 8
and the letter 8
related. Yeah, Home 8.
The number 8.
Yeah, and I found the camera because I was having a hard time getting it to connect to anything except the Home 8. They have a surveillance. They have a surveillance station that everything kind of connects into. And I was, so I was having a hard time finding it. And it's supposed to be an IP camera, but I'm having a hard time finding it in my list of, of all the connected devices, which makes me think it's not connected via IP at this point. It's maybe connected using a proprietary
There's
base station. Even though I set it up that way. But the name of the company they use, it starts with an H, and I can't. It was hard to find. Like, it's like a 2202 something. Let's see. Hold on. I found it, and then I worked on it all afternoon one time, and then I gave up. I was like, screw it. I can't get this thing to work with anything.
Was that the one that was at the meetup last year?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the greatest cam, but it was free. So I'm not, it's.
One thing that you can do with the Ring cameras, you can also watch it through the Echo Show.
Oh,
it's connected to that now.
See, that's nice. See, that's the kind of stuff I miss from the not having with this app.
You do have if this then that integration with that app, though, Mike. I see that's one of the things they list there.
Yep, that's what I was saying. So you could like blink your lights, or if you had someone coming, or I don't know. I could think of.
I have anytime I hit 10,000 steps on my watch, all the what do you call them, the Philips Hue lights in the house start going through a blinking phase.
Everyone knows that you hit your goal.
Yep. My wife hates when I'm out walking on the trail and all of a sudden the lights start blinking. It's going to be an hour before I get back to turn them off.
Right.
Mike, what you need to do is, that one particular tone when you set your alarm, you hear that loud buzz, that loud sort of look out, the alarm's about to go off. have that triggered when somebody walked by your house at 2 o'clock in the morning. Just as a this is a warning sign before the big one.
Right. Yeah. No, I want the shotgun cocking sound. Yeah.
Yep, that's a great sound.
The Amcrest cameras are really good cameras to buy if you're going to do some IP cameras. They're a little bit on the expensive side. I've gone cheap and regretted it. There's really no point in going cheap on the IP cameras. I'd say a lot of the outdoor waterproof bullet cams or anything like that, you're probably going to pay $90, $100 plus for a decent one.
I'm just trying to find one that's integrated with light, but I'm not having a lot of luck. So I might have to put a security light up separately and then just do the camera separately.
Yeah, and you get to a point too, and you're like, okay, maybe I just do the Ring ones or Nest or something like that. At this point, when I start playing around with some of this stuff, and then I don't know. But I wonder, in 5 to 10 years when the system's still adequately running and I haven't paid any fees, it's not bad.
But it's also the wife factor too, right? If I get a Ring, I can put the Ring app on my wife's phone, and she can use it anytime.
My wife loves the Sighthound app. She uses it all the time. So that still works for her. Now, she hated the notifications because she hates false positives. She thought someone was wrong every 2 seconds. So it's like,
I had to turn that off my wife too.
Yep, I turned off the notifications, but I left the app there. Yeah, she hated it. She's like, I'm not even going to check it even if something is happening. I'm like, oh, I know, that's me. I'm always checking. So,
although we seem to be getting too many packages from Amazon or wherever else going on because my doorbell alarm keeps going off on the phone every meeting I'm in.
Don't order so much stuff.
What are you getting now, Mike? I didn't even order anything.
Guy rings your doorbell. Mine doesn't ring the doorbell anymore.
Just drops off and runs.
Yeah, I think it's because we have a dog that sounds vicious, but he's really a lover. And every time the doorbell rings, and then my dog goes outside to the doggy door and barks at the guy as he walks along the sidewalk too. So I'm sure he just doesn't want to.
Ask out in chat. This is after the show. Yes, this is way after the show.
Way after show.
That's why we're covering
off. Not here? Oh,
it is. It is the after show indeed. Could you tell?
Yeah, we're all over the place. No more barbecue.
No, this camera conversation might be the most consistent conversation we've had.
Speaking, I'm going to bring barbecue and camera together here right now,
and store on your Unraid.
whenever the smoker starts getting like to the hotness, when I'm cooking like burgers, something on there's a certain temperature it gets to that its position versus the Ring stick-up camera, because it's using infrared to pick up stuff. It picks up the heat of the grill and will start going off.
Really?
Yeah.
I got a. I don't know if you can watch. He's gonna go away as soon as I show you guys. I got a spider activating mine right now. I just clicked over to it. Oh, and now he's not fluttering. He was fluttering right in front of it, and just I was getting a thing for, hey, there's someone in your backyard. There's someone. No, it's just a spider that was fluttering in front of the screen. Now he's not there anymore.
Barbecue and what? Well, Alfredo, we were talking about barbecue earlier, but we have now migrated in the post show onto cameras, IP cameras. So now that I'm pushing out, I'll have to double those up. I don't think I got the post show out to the Patreon group this week. We had some issues with it, with the just with everything this week. I'll have to post it. I'll have to post last week's post show, which
Drashna actually uses he uses Blue Iris, which is free, I believe. Could be another good option to play around with. I'm not sure about a good app that gives you alerts from Blue Iris, but he'd be probably the guy to ask.
All right. Gents, I've had a long week. I'm actually going to cut this off. If you're watching in live, thanks for coming out, guys. Appreciate you. You guys hang tight for just a sec. And we'll see you back here next week. I think I don't have a guest. I have to get one between now and then. So talk to you guys later. We'll see you next week.